All right, I'm Matt Brown here at the UWF Police Department, and we're here talking to some of the officers about some of the sightings at the UWF library. And I'm here with.
My name's Officer Jerry Hatch. I'm a police officer. Been employed since 1994.
Okay. And I'm here also with.
I'm Steve Barlow. I've been a police officer out here for about 16 years now.
Okay, great. And basically, you have a story of your own. Why don't you just go ahead and share that with us?
Several years ago, let's say about 8 or 9 years ago, I was working with one of the officers who used to work at the time, Mike Connell, and we were working nights. We finished checking our buildings. We met over at the library when we finished. And we sat there at the information desk. We got to talking about the different. We got to talking about different ghost stories that we heard at the library, and we probably spent 20-30 minutes talking about different stuff that other people have told us what had happened or what they saw. A couple of the officers had said they seen an apparition there. They described as a cloaked figure that they couldn't see a face. They could hear, or people would walk through the building and they could hear like a coat or something heavy dragging across the bookshelves, like maybe he's wearing an overcoat or something. But then they could never find anybody.
Right.
We spent 20-30 minutes talking about stuff like that, and after a while, we'd finished telling all our ghost stories, and then I turned to Mike and I said, I've worked out here a lot of years. I've walked into some buildings and heard things I couldn't explain, or maybe your eyes play tricks on you when you're working nights and you're tired, but I've just never seen or heard anything that I would think would be a ghost. And just as soon as I said that, a book fell off the shelf around the corner from us. So that's my big ghost story.
How did you react to that? To the book?
We both left the building. Some of the previous officers that have worked here, one of them said he was in the basement of the library. And back before they remodeled the basement, there used to be a wide glass door in front of the elevators. And it was locked, but you could see through it. And he was checking the door and looking through the glass into the archive section of the library. And said there was like a pillar of smoke just gliding across the room and went through a wall.
Really?
And he was also one of the officers who said he saw a cloaked figure up in the book racks. And other people have said they walked past the library and looked up in the window and saw like a green face looking out from the window.
You've told me one about a keyboard.
Oh yes.
Yeah, go ahead and tell that one.
Well, it was a cold winter night, obviously, and and everything always happens on a cold winter night. And it's probably 2:30 in the morning, and we're doing routine checks of the library, and Steve over here was in the library, and I showed up a little bit after the fact, and I thought I heard somebody typing on a keyboard. Okay, so I go over there and I look, and I'm thinking it's Steve on a computer, and no, it's nobody over there. So I walk to the elevator, and as I'm walking to the elevator, something starts typing on the keyboard again. And so I turn around, shine my flashlight, go check everything again, make sure all the doors locked over there in that section. Nobody. Quits. It quits. The keyboard quits. So I walk to the elevator. And about that time I get over near the elevator, the keyboard starts up again. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm looking around. I'm hollering for him at the top of my lungs. It quits. Quits typing. Whoever's typing quits typing. And I'm saying, okay, that's it. So by the time I think it's Steve playing a joke on me or something like that, after searching, I start toward the elevator, and the elevator doors open up, and here comes Steve. Steve had been up on the 3rd and 4th floors checking it out. And I'm like, Steve, you're not going to believe this. I said, I swear to you, someone's over here typing on a keyboard. And so him and I both, searched the area again, and nothing, never found anything. But I know what I heard, and I wasn't losing my mind, contrary to belief. And I had one happen to me in Building 82, the Fine Arts, the Center for Fine and Performing Arts. This was back in the mid-90s, mid to late 90s, probably 96 to 98, somewhere around in there. It was a late January morning, 2:30, 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning. Nobody in Building 82, the Fine Arts building. And we have to walk through and make sure there's nobody in there, and the doors are locked in certain areas. And, so I'm down by the scene shop, and there's a loading dock with a big metal bay door. Well, by the scene shop, there's a hallway that leads to the dressing rooms. The dressing rooms are right on there. They have a bulletin board, and you can read about all the upcoming plays and stuff. And so I had my hand up, and I was reading the plays, and I wasn't very far from the hallway exit that leads into the main corridor that goes past the scene shop, and then that leads outside. When I had my hand up, and I'm reading, just out of my peripheral vision, I see a shadow go across the floor. And I'm like, okay, I can't explain that. I never heard an exterior door open up. Another hallway door that leads behind the main stage, I never heard it open up. The scene shop door never opened up and closed. So I'm like, okay, I go back, and I said, I just can't explain that. I said, I don't know what it was. But when I went back to where I saw the shadow was falling. My shadow fell the opposite direction of the shadow that I saw, and I thought that was really odd. And so, okay, Jerry can't explain that. So he just, I was on foot, so I went out the exit doors right there to the bay doors by the scene shop, and walked down the staircase, got to the service road, and when I stepped foot on the service road, I turned around and just looked at the building. Dead still, no wind. It was frost on the ground. It was very cold that night, and that metal bay door started rattling. Okay, it just started rattling, and it took me 6 months before I would go back in that building by myself at night. I'm a coward, but no, I didn't. But when I did finally go back in that building, I went over there and I tried to rattle that door the way I heard it, and it doesn't rattle. You can't push it back and forth and have it rattle the way it did.
Wow, that's crazy.
So yeah, that's pretty freaky. I didn't know what it.
Is that the bay door next to the parking lot over there?
Yeah, the bay door next to the parking lot.